This prison has 333 levels, with 666 inmates sharing just a single table of food. Here, you can feast on dishes from all over the globe: Scottish shortbread, Canadian herring, and fresh Australian lobster. But this feast is only enough for 600 people, and that's nowhere near enough to satisfy the hungry masses. In this vertical hellhole, food hangs above a central table, dropping down from the top to the 333 RD level. The inmates above do all sorts of disgusting things to the food: spitting, peeing, even worse. Those below just have to deal with it. Even with all the grossness, the food gets devoured quickly. Inmates below the 100th floor can't even catch a glimpse of it. To fill their stomachs, they might end up turning on each other. Right now, Goring wakes up in a closed-off room. Across from him sits a fat old man, staring him down. This guy is Trimagasi, and he tells Goring he's on the 48th level. Goring wants to know what that means, but Trimagasi just says he should focus on one thing: whether he'll get food today. Just then, the green light in the cell flickers to life. Trimagasi immediately drops to the floor. Then, the platform slowly lowers from above, filled with a feast of delicious food. Without hesitation, Trimagasi lunges for the food and starts wolfing it down. Goring takes a closer look and realizes the food has already been touched by others. It hits him: if there are 2 people on each level, that means 94 people have already eaten from this spread. It's revolting. Trimagasi urges him, "You better eat something. This is the only meal today." Goring hesitates, but finally picks an apple and slips it in his pocket. Suddenly, there's a loud crash as the platform continues to descend. To Goring's shock, Trimagasi rinses his mouth with red wine and then spits it onto the food. Goring can't help but ask, "What are you doing?" Trimagasi coldly replies, "This is how people from above act." Just then, Goring feels the temperature spike sharply. Trimagasi quickly explains, "You can't hide food here. If you do, you'll either get roasted or frozen to death." Reluctantly, Goring tosses the apple away, and the temperature slowly returns to normal. They start chatting, and Goring asks Trimagasi why he's in prison. Trimagasi shrugs and says, "Nothing special. I just threw a TV into the street and ended up killing some poor guy." Goring, on the other hand, is here to quit smoking. If he lasts 6 months, he'll get a certificate. This prison has 333 levels. When people are sent here, they can bring one item. Goring chose a copy of Don Quixote, while Trimagasi brought a knife. The next day, Goring still hasn't eaten. He's desperate to know how many levels this place really has. Trimagasi says he's been here for a year and has been to the deepest level, 132, but that's not the end. There are even deeper levels with no food at all. Goring thinks that's inhumane and tries to encourage the people below to save food for others. Unsurprisingly, he gets completely berated by them. Seeing this, Trimagasi decides to pee down on them, which he thinks is a good way to back Goring up. He says the people below us are even lower than we are. Time jumps to the 3rd day. In this prison, there's food everywhere, but Goring has gone 2 days without eating. Suddenly, someone falls from above, shocking him. Trimagasi gestures for him to stay calm, saying it's not a bad thing, it's normal. This makes Goring realize he needs to ask Trimagasi how he survived on level 132. Trimagasi sighs when there's no food. You have to rely on your fellow inmates. The image flashes in Goring's mind, sending a shiver down his spine. That day, a woman Miharu appears on the platform. Her skin is dark, her face cold and expressionless. Trimagasi explains that her child is missing, and she comes down every month to look for her. Goring feels sorry for her and wants to help but feels powerless. As Miharu descends, the people below rush to her. Goring panics and wants to jump down to save her, but before he can act, Miharu fights back, swiftly taking down 2 men and climbing back onto the platform. She glances back at Goring. As time goes on, Goring starts to adapt to prison life, forming a surface-level friendship with Trimagasi. Little does he know, a horrific event is about to unfold. This is a death prison where people are constantly fighting for survival. That night, Trimagasi quietly tells Goring, "Soon, we're going to smell something like gas. Tomorrow morning, we'll be moved to a new level." He adds, "I admire you, Goring. You have a good heart, but I don't think you'll last long." Goring asks, "Do you believe in God?" Trimagasi, holding a knife, whispers, "This month I do." The next morning, Goring wakes up horrified to find himself tied to the bed Trimagasi did it. It turns out they've been assigned to level 171. Trimagasi coldly states, "I warned you. Better to eat than be eaten. There's no food here. When we lose our sanity, I might not be able to control myself. But don't worry, I won't do anything now. Your condition will spoil. In 7 days, you'll be in a very different state, and then I'll make my move. You can even have a taste. Don't say I'm unfair." As the platform slowly descends, there isn't even a scrap of food left. 7 days pass. Trimagasi gets ready to make his move. He stuffs a cloth in Goring's mouth and starts to tear open his pants. With the knife raised, Goring cries out in pain. Just as Trimagasi is about to take a bite, Miharu drops down onto the platform. She grabs a bottle and smashes it over Trimagasi's head, swiftly stopping him. Miharu frees Goring and hands him the knife, encouraging him to take charge. He takes the knife and crawls toward Trimagasi, ultimately crossing a line he never wanted to. Miharu stays on this level for 2 days before moving on. As time drags on, Goring can only survive by eating the maggots on Trimagasi's body. Then, the gas returns. When Goring wakes up again, he finds himself on level 33. His new cellmate is Imoguiri, a blonde woman who came here because of cancer, hoping to change her fate. The only item she brought is an adorable dog. Imoguiri explains to Goring that there are 200 levels in total. Each inmate picks their favorite dish and writes it down on a menu. If everyone only eats their chosen dish, they can all survive. This is the most luxurious prison in the world. On level 0, the management closely monitors every dish, enforcing strict oversight. Even finding a hair in the panna cotta leads to a thorough investigation. But the chefs don't realize that no matter how unappetizing the food is, the lower levels will clear the plates. Meanwhile, Imoguiri starts promoting her rationing plan, but it's clear that no one wants to listen. Goring can't take it anymore and yells down, "If you don't follow the rules, we'll make things unpleasant for you up here." Only then do the people below start to listen. One day, Miharu descends again, searching for her daughter, but she's badly injured. They quickly help her, but that night, when Miharu wakes up, she eats Imoguiri's little dog. Imoguiri and Miharu immediately start arguing. Goring rushes in to break it up. Imoguiri calmly says, "These are all adults here. There are no children. You're not a mother, you're just acting. You even brought a ukulele, you." A few days later, Miharu sets out again, and soon a month goes by. Goring is assigned to level 202, but his cellmate Imoguiri has already chosen to end her life. In the area beyond the 200 levels, the food delivered is completely gone. In that moment, Goring begins to hallucinate. Trimagasi forces him to think of Imoguiri as food, while Imoguiri urges him to act quickly. In agony, Goring screams and pounds the walls, desperately fighting his dark cravings. Yet the platform still brings no food. He can only tear pages from his book to stave off hunger. He once believed that reason could conquer all, but eventually he succumbs to the instinct to survive. Slowly, he approaches Imoguiri, knife in hand. A month later, Goring is moved to level 6. His new cellmate, a cheerful guy named Baharat, has a plan to climb to the top level using a rope. He intends to throw the rope down to the inmates on level 5, who promise to pull him up. But as Baharat climbs halfway, a big behind drops down, delivering an unexpected gift right on his head. The rope slips loose, and if Goring hadn't grabbed him just in time, Baharat would have been lost. Sitting on the ground, Baharat feels defeated while Goring sits beside him and proposes a daring plan. "Let's take weapons and distribute the food ourselves. I believe we can change the rules of this prison." They quickly agree, and Goring decides to start distributing food from level 51. After all, the first 50 levels get meals every day, so going a day without food isn't such a big deal. The two of them stand on the platform, iron bars in hand, as it slowly descends. Baharat swings the bar, driving everyone back into the corners. Anyone who dares to make a move faces a crushing blow. Then they encounter a wise old man who says, "Even if you succeed, how will management ever know? Why not leave behind some food as a signal of your victory? That way, they'll understand what you've accomplished." Goring thinks this makes sense. So they commit to protecting that plate of panna cotta at all costs before continuing their food distribution. They fight hard to keep it safe all the way to level 50. Once they reach level 51, they begin handing out food, swiftly stopping anyone trying to take more than their share. As they climb to level 100, each level feels like hell on earth. Suddenly, they hear Miharu's voice calling out, "Never underestimate a woman." On this level, Miharu is about to be attacked. She fights back fiercely, but is ultimately overpowered by the bald man, meeting a tragic fate. Furious, Goring immediately tackles the bald man, pounding his head, but the bald guy knocks him down to the ground. The bald man's cellmate is a swordsman. With a few swift strikes, he breaks Baharat's iron bar in half. Baharat grabs the broken piece and charges at the swordsman, taking him out in one swift move. They finally take down their enemies, but both Goring and Baharat are seriously injured, barely able to keep moving forward. After level 200, the place feels almost empty. The platform continues to descend 250, 270, 290, 300. Finally, they reach level 333, and all they have left is that plate of panna cotta. Suddenly, Goring notices a girl hiding under the bed. Could she be Miharu's child? There is actually a child in this prison. The little girl is starving, gazing longingly at the plate of panna cotta. But it's more than just food. It's the message Goring and Bharat want to send to the overseers. In the end, they soften their hearts and give the panna cotta to the poor child. At that moment, they realize the platform has stopped at level 333. It seems this layer is at the bottom of the abyss. They have an epiphany. The child can serve as their message. There are no children in the pit. Sending her to the top level would be their strongest statement. The next day, Bharat succumbs to blood loss and can't go on. Goring takes the girl down to below level 333, sending her back to the top while he chooses to stay in the darkness, slowly stepping down the platform. Suddenly, the illusion of Trimagasi appears, and together they walk into the dark abyss. On the other side, the platform carries the child, delivering Goring and Bharat's message as it swiftly ascends. But in the end, it only delivers a plate of panna cotta. The staff, noticing a hair in the dessert, begins to trace its source, completely missing the true significance of the panna cotta. In reality, the girl never existed. She was merely a figment of Goring and Bharat's imagination. This film is titled The Platform. There are actually two endings. The first is an ideal ending where the child reaches the top, and the overseers receive Goring's message, possibly leading to improvements in the conditions of the pit. The second is the harsh reality where only the panna cotta is sent up. The overseers find the dessert and, noticing the hair, begin their investigation, failing to comprehend the cost of maintaining a full meal at level 333. I rate this film above 90 and encourage everyone to watch the original. That's all. Remember to follow and subscribe. See you next time.